Hello, beautiful humans. Today, I wanted to teach you how you can create your very own template or planner from scratch on Canva. So I'm going to go into all the different little tips and tricks that are going to make this really easy to do and not take you forever to have all these duplicate kind of boxes and shapes and make sure everything's lined up. I'm also going to show you how to make sure that it's actually usable from a perspective of sizing and a perspective of printing and of actually writing on it with a pen. And I'm just going to show you how to make it look beautiful. And I'm going to show you how to do all of these things from scratch. So let's dive in. So hi, if we haven't met before, my name is Jacqui and I'm a graphic designer who loves Canva and loves teaching business owners how to create their own graphics. And today I'm going to teach you from a business owner's perspective from two angles. Either you might be doing this because you want to create your own planner to just make life as a business owner a little bit easier, or you may be wanting to create this to sell or to offer to some of your students or your clients as a planner for them. Or you might just be a random that doesn't have a business that just wants to create a planner. Hi, if you're there too. But that's what I love to specialize in, is actually really thinking strategically about design so it doesn't just look pretty, it actually works as well. So this is what we're going to create today. I haven't actually created this at the time of holding my hands up here, but this is what we create by the end of the video. I didn't want to create this I wanted to create this with you as we go through this video because I wanted you to see the process and the thinking of a designer to actually get this stuff to look right rather than me just showing you the end process of like, this is how I did it. And so let's dive in. Firstly, you can obviously not do this from scratch. If you are someone who just wants to get something done really quickly just for your own use, just for the fun of it, I would recommend going to Canva's templates and just searching for planner. So for example, I've searched weekly planner and you can see there is a ton of great options already right here. And so if you like one of these, just use this, tweak it if you need to, print it out and use it as much as you want to. But if you're wanting something either more custom to your exact needs as a business owner or as a human being, or you're wanting to sell something that's more unique, then this tutorial is going to be for you. So the first thing to do is actually stop and get off Canva, get off the computer and actually think about what the heck you want this planner to be. For me, I have decided today I want to do something that's a weekly planner. So something that I can print out, have as a bit of an overview of my week. I can just pop it on my desk here, grab out a pen and just write a couple things to plan my week and kind of brain dump everything there in flesh. And so what I want you to do first is actually grab a piece of paper if you have one, grab a notepad, grab any sort of paper or your iPad or whatever you kind of can draw on physically and just do this. This was literally a scrap piece of paper I found in my recycling bin and I've just kind of listed out, I'm just going to hold up to the camera, hopefully you can see it. I've listed out just what my design to look like. Like I want to have a section for daily to-dos. I want to have a heading. I want to have a section for notes, a section for what I want my socials to be for that week. I want to have a section for, what was that one again? Things for this month. I want to have a overall brand planning for the month. And I also want to have an encouragement section where I might add a nice little quote or something. And so really working out what you want to have on your specific planner is really important because otherwise you're going to actually open up Canva and think, what do I actually want on here? Then you're going to get really stuck. Whereas when you have this plan and this outline to begin with, it's really easy to then be like, all right, let's just click, 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 make. So that's the first thing. Do that, sketch that, pause this video, go sketch that out and really think about what's going to be useful for me in my business. Do I like planning out what I'm going to do each day? Do I like having an idea of what I'm going to cook for a meal that night? Or do I like having an encouragement? Or do I like having a brain dump section? What do you want on a planner? And feel free at this stage, if you're drawing up a blank, like searching on Pinterest or searching on Canva or searching on Google for other planners and having a bit of a stalk of what other people are doing and what they're including so you can get a bit of an idea. Next thing is actually to do what I've just said in terms of having a look at what's already out there. So I'm going to just scroll on this Canva templates page that I've found. And I want to point out a few things on these that make these designs work so that you can do this when you do your own designs. So on here, you'll see that we've got lots of different boxes. What I really love about particularly this one, for example, is we've got a variation in the boxes. There's some boxes that are filled in, some boxes that are white. And that just helps create some dynamicness in the design and helps it not to feel too boring. And you'll also notice that most of these have a light color to write on. If you're like a normal human being, you use a normal pen that's usually a dark ink color. And so if you were to create a design that had like a really dark base, to draw on this with a dark pen, it wouldn't work. And so making sure that no matter what your branding is like or no matter what you want the design to look like, that the boxes and places you want people to actually write are light or light enough to be able to write on. And even this one, for example, you'll see that it's got quite a dark background, but the text and the areas you want to write text is still light. So considering these things I find really useful, whereas this one here or this one here, the boxes are starting to get a little bit too dark to actually write on really easily. All right, so now that we've done that a bit of thinking, something else you can look at is just the space between these sections, that making sure that things don't feel too cramped, because is usually a lot on these pages. Making sure that there are clear headings, making sure that there are lines if needed or not lines if not needed, if you don't want to be so rigid. And you can also see that the look of this planner compared to this planner, even though they're essentially the same thing, they've got a list of lines and dots for each day of the week, then the branding that plays out is quite different. So also thinking about if you've got your own brand, if you've got your own look for your business, leaning into that, especially for something that you want to sell on an outward perspective, to make sure that it actually reflects you and your business and that consistency point, which I love talking about if you've followed me at all. Also, while you're watching this, please make sure you hit that subscribe button, because you will learn so much more about branding, about design principles, and about Canva in a really easy to understand way. I would love to have you along for the ride. All right, let's get creating. So now that we've done the research, the thinking, and the planning, we can start designing. So firstly, do you want to have a landscape design or a portrait design? For me, I really love landscape. That just flows with my brain, but you'll see a lot of these ones here are portrait. So working out which one suits you and your brain best or what you want to sell. And then pressing create a design. If you're in the US, you might want to use the letter style, letter size. I'm in Australia, so we don't use that. We use A4 size, not letter US. Anyway, it's a whole thing. Letter US portrait. That's the size I think you guys use. But for me, I use letter A4 because I'm in Australia. So I'm going to open up the A4 size. But you'll see this is portrait. So that's actually not what I want. So what I'm going to do is go back here and I'm going to type in A4 and I'm going to write in landscape. And you'll see that's come with a nice landscape design for me. If you did already open up something like this, you could also go to Magic Switch and go to resize and kind of just resize this to being custom size, and then changing these dimensions to having the 29.7 on the width and the 21 here, and that would change the dimensions for you. But I'm not going to do that because I've already got my size here. So first thing that I like to do is just work out my overall layout. So I want to add in the boxes and I want to add in my text. So I'm going to do that now. Firstly, I'm just going to press T on my keyboard and insert a text box. I'm going to write in weekly planner because that's the heading I would like to have on this. You could think through anything interesting you want to do here in terms of Jacqui's weekly planner or brand name weekly planner or plan your week in a glance, or whatever you want it to be, obviously. I'm no copywriter. Then I'm going to press just duplicate this and write in daily to-dos, because this is the first section. So daily to-do. Next, I'm going to add in a box. So if you want a hack that I showed someone today, if you just press R on your keyboard, a box will come up, a rectangle will come up. This rectangle is the best rectangle in all of Canva because it's totally versatile. You can change the colors of it. You can add in a border. You can take away a border. You can even round the corners, and you can change it to being any dimensions you would like. So really recommend that rectangle, pressing R on your keyboard. Or you can go to elements and just click on this shape right here. This one here is our most versatile rectangle as well. All right, I'm going to bring this in. Now, a tool that I'm going to use a lot today that I probably should mention, that I've already used before but I didn't mention, is holding down Alt on my keyboard or Option on my keyboard and dragging when I'm on top of a shape. Right now I'm just holding down Alt Option. This is on a Mac, and it's making more and more of that shape. That's just going to help me duplicate things a lot quicker. That's just a way to duplicate things. If you want to duplicate things another way, you can click on the shape you want to duplicate and press this little duplicate button, and that will do the same thing. Or you could obviously just press copy and paste, so Control V and Control C and Control V, or copy and then paste. So there's 1,000 ways to do that, but that is my favorite way, is just doing the drag. So for me, I only want to work 5 days a week, so I'm only going to put 5 boxes here. If you wanted to, you could add 7 boxes, or if you're only working 3 days a week, you'd add 3 boxes. Whatever you want to do there, do that. Okay, so you'll notice here already that these boxes are evenly spaced. You can see that when I hover my mouse and hold my mouse over this shape, then Canva's letting me know actually it's 0.6 between each of these boxes. Great job. If this wasn't already the case, I want to show you the best way to kind of line this up. So I'm just going to move some of these around so they're not quite lined up. So say this is what your page looked like. What you want to do is go into the blank space of your design, or out here if you don't have any blank space in your design, click and then drag, and you'll see this box. Drag that across anything that you want to have lined up. So I'm going to drag and select all of these boxes here. If you didn't want to do that, you could also click on an object and press Shift or hold Shift on your keyboard and click, and it will select multiple layers. Or you could go to the position tool over here, toggle across to layers, and then select each of these as needed. So you can just click on one and then press Shift and then select all of them. Hold down Command and you can select one that's not next to the others. I know I'm talking about a lot of different shortcuts and stuff here, and so if you need to, please pause this video and rewind what I've done because I don't want to go over it for too long in case you already know all these shortcuts. But these are the ways to make this design so much quicker, and I want to make sure that I'm giving you all of the different options. So I'm going to grab all these, and then I'm going to go to the Arrange panel of the layer of. So I'm still inside the Position tab over here, and you can see there's Arrange or Layers. So I'm going to toggle back to Arrange, and here is where I can align my elements the way that I want them to be. So I'm going to first press Middle. This is going to make sure that all of my designs are, all of my boxes are evenly aligned to the middle. So if I press Middle, you can see that they all jumped around, and to make sure that this one here is all lined up and everything is all lined up together. Perfection. That's going to save you so much time for you're welcome. The next thing I want to do is make sure there's evenly spaced in between them. So what I'm going to keep doing is make sure that they're still selected, but I'm going to go to the Space Evenly section here and press either Tidy Up or Horizontally. I'm going to click horizontally because Tidy Up can kind of do whatever it wants, whereas horizontally will do exactly what I want to do. So if I click horizontally, you can see that it's put the exact same amount of space in between each of these boxes. Perfection. All right, I'm really happy with that. So I'm just going to move that around over to there. Then I'm just going to press Alt or Option on my keyboard to duplicate that text box and type in my new section. So I've got notes down here. I'm going to move that around so it's all lined up. Always just lining everything up. You can see here that Canva's like, oh, hey, this is great. There's that little pink line that's connecting between everything. It's telling me it's lined up. I'm going to duplicate that again and go to socials, and then I'm going to duplicate this again and type in monthly focuses, and then I'm going to duplicate again, but down, and go to encouragement. Now, I just did something I want to actually show you properly. As well as I'm holding down the Option Alt key on my keyboard, I'm also holding down Shift. When I hold down Shift, you can see here that even though my mouse is moving left to right, it's staying lined up with the object that I've taken it from or where I have moved it from. It's not going a little bit this way, it's not going a little bit this way, it's staying totally lined up. I did the same thing when I was doing this, and so to make sure that it stays lined up with this line here, I'm holding down Shift. So if I go up and down here, it stays in line. Or if I let go of Shift, it goes up and down. Hopefully that makes sense. It's a hard one to explain, but holding down Shift will help things to stay lined up from where you've moved them from originally. I'm going to type in here encouragement, and I'm going to add in some more boxes. So again, I'm just going to grab this one and bring it down. I might have a large notes section. I'm going to grab this box. Now here I want to have a separate little box for each of the days of the week. So say if I want to post 5 days a week on social media, I might put 5 options for a social media post. Obviously you can do whatever you like here. If you're posting, maybe you're sending an email every day. That would be a lot of emails, but maybe you are. Maybe you are only posting on socials 3 times a week, then only do 3 boxes. Kind of whatever your goal is for your business, create that and make that custom to you here. So I'm just going to grab this box and make it a bit narrower. Again, I'm going to duplicate 3 times over, or I could even click and drag and then duplicate 2 at a time. Now you could see here that it's going a little bit too low. I'm going to sort that out a little bit more later, but in essence, I want everything to always be lined up. So I've got all of these lined up, and now I want all of this bottom section lined up as well. So I'm going to drag and select all of these, make them a little bit shorter, just like so. I could also just bring them out to being longer again if I wanted to, but I'm going to just leave it like this for now because I think this is enough space anyway. I'm going to grab my box again, duplicate it and bring it across, and make this a bit bigger for monthly focuses. And then I'm going to bring that down, and duplicate my box again and bring that down for encouragement. So these are my overall sections, and you can see that my planner is starting to have a bit of a reflection of my sketch, and it's starting to have a bit of legs to it, have a bit of a full design to it. And so I'm going to move that away now so I can really focus on the design side now. Okay, so next I want to think through, what do I want as my design style? Now for me, as you know, if you follow me for a while, I have a specific design style that I use for my business quite regularly. I use bright colors, I use textures, I use bold fonts, and I use clouds and bubbles. That's my brand vibe. And so making sure that when you're getting to this, you're mimicking your own brand vibe, especially for something you're selling as an add-on to your business. Maybe you're a business coach and you want to give this to your clients, or if you're selling this as an actual product, making sure that you are creating something that's got enough of a vibe and uniqueness to it that you can sell it and be like, download this design for this retro vibe, or download this design for its minimal clean vibe, like kind of sharing the aesthetic as part of that reasoning. So make sure you're being really intentional with that aesthetic. So right now I'm now going to finish off the layout, and then I'm going to apply my branding to it. So I'm going to do the layout first because I always get excited and want to do the branding too soon, but in essence, the layout is the most important thing. So firstly, I want to make this a little bit larger. I might even have a section over here for the date, but I'm probably going to hand write that date in. So I might now duplicate this box and add a little space to write the date in. I might write what the date of the Monday is or what kind of week it is. I've also noticed that there is a different amount of spacing here as there is over here. So I'm going to make sure that I fix that up right now. So I'm going to drag these and just make them a little bit larger. And there is about an even spacing between here and here. If you want to do that more exactly, you could even duplicate a box and kind of just grab this in here and duplicate this over here and check that it's the same. But as you can tell, I've already got it correct, which is nice. Or you could add in a margin, you could add in rulers. There are so many ways you can do this, but that is my favorite way of doing it. I'm also going to grab these boxes. Which section do I want to be bigger? I think I'd love my socials to be bigger and longer. So I'm going to actually just grab all of these. This clicking and dragging thing is going to be so helpful at this point. So I'm going to click and drag and bring this over so it lines up with my left alignment, my right alignment here. So you see when I move this across, that pink dotted line came up and it let me know that was aligned. I'm also going to make sure I grab that date box and do the same thing. Now I'm just going to grab my socials and just drag that across so that they're all the same. And then you can see here there's not quite the same amount of spacing here as there is here. So I'm just going to select all of these and drag that. So you see that 0.7 comes up. That's just letting me know there's the same amount of spacing in that column to that column. Now in this design, you'll notice that I've intentionally done some different sizes of boxes, some different sizes of spacing so that it does feel a little bit more interesting and it does feel a bit more dynamic. If things are too rigid and similar, unless they're like, say if I go to this example, unless it's like a similar box for each day, that's totally okay. But when we're doing something that's slightly more interesting and there's a few more bits and pieces happening, having those different columns or different boxes or different kind of layouts helps that design to not feel so boring. So that's what I've done. All right, next I'm going to make sure these boxes are usable. So for me, having a purple box isn't going to be usable to write on. I'm going to select all my boxes. And so I could go into my colors and I could choose my lighter brand color, that might work. Or I could go up here and this little, if I go back to the darker one, if you click on the plus button here with the colors, this helps you to select your colors. And what you can do is just grab this little circle and bring it across to the left and keep it on the similar trajectory as what your original color was so it stays that similar vibe of your brand color, and just bring this across to a lighted tone. And that will be a lot easier for me to write on there. Another thing that I could do is even leave it white, but use a darker color edge. So say for example, if I go, this is the color of the box, this is the color of a line. So I could even add in a line here and I could make that line to be purple. And I can make the box color fill in, if I click on that, to being no color, white. I could choose white, but I like to just do no color just to make sure it's crisp, nothing white. And that is something a little bit different as well. So I'm actually going to select these ones here and make them the same as these boxes there. I'm going to select this one here and make it the same as this box. What you can actually do is if you select an object you want to copy the formatting of, click on that, press this little copy style little paintbrush up here, and then paste it down onto this. So once I've pasted that on, you'll notice that it didn't actually copy the pasting across, but what it has done is it has moved some of it across. It's moved my border and my border color across, but it hasn't moved the border fill in. So just changing that if you need to. If that ever happens to you, you'll know why. I'm going to leave this encouragement section. I'm going to make that the same color as this bit here. You'll see there's just a little bit of variance and difference. I'm also going to do the same with the date up here. Might make that. I might actually use the same one as this one here. You notice that I actually just changed this box color to not being no color anymore. I changed it to white. And when I copied the formatting across, like I tried to do with this monthly focuses box, it carried it across because it was white, not no color. So just a little hack for you there if that ever happens for you. All right, next I want to add in some of my brand fonts. I'm going to actually just select one of these pieces of text, go over to my font section, and down here I have my brand fonts. So I'm just going to select that of Termina Heavy. I'm actually going to use a different font for my headings as I will everywhere else. I'm actually going to just leave that there, align that back up. And then this one here, I want these to be Poppins. So Poppins is one of the fonts that I use at the moment for my branding. So I'm going to select that. And you'll notice down the bottom here, it's given me the option to change all. So I've got Red Hat Display, which I've currently got for all of these, but I want to change them all to Poppins. Instead of having to select them all or go and individually change them all, I can actually just press change all here, and all appearances of that font will then be changed to the new font selection, which is really helpful. So I've just done that. I've also got like this date is way too big. So I'm actually just going to make this a lot smaller. I could even pop this inside my box if I wanted to and just make this like a really light color for that to be kind of like drawn over as a bit of a, it's like telling me it's there, but I don't really want to have it there too much. So that's there now. I'm going to change this text to being left aligned. So you'll see that this text here is all left aligned to this box. So I want to keep that. So I'm just going to make sure everything's left aligned to their boxes. That's beginning to come a little bit neater. This text here is quite big. I've got it on 18. You could totally do something as small as 12 or smaller for your text here. So if you wanted something a little bit more, if your brand was more modern and spacious and clean, I would definitely consider a smaller font. For me, I'm going to do somewhere in the middle. I might actually just change I'm going to select all of these and make sure that they're all left aligned just for making sure it's nice and neat. And I'm going to make them probably around 13 and bring this down a little bit closer to each of my boxes. Bring that down, bring that a little bit smaller too. And I might make this a nice bright for my branding. Okay, so it's starting to come together. Next, I want to add in some more of my brand elements. So I've added in my brand fonts and my brand colors, but I haven't got my brand elements in yet. So I'm going to go to, I have a whole folder of my brand elements. You could also have these inside your brand hub kit kind of thing if that's what you want to use as well. I'm going to grab my little cloud here. I'm going to pop that maybe down the bottom. I'm going to actually now send this to being behind my box. I'm going to go to position here, lace, and drag this cloud to being behind everything else. And that's going to be nicely behind my square, which is now filled in white. So it's better that this was actually filled in white rather than no color, because if this was no color, it would be transparent, but white makes it kind of nice and clear. I could also add in some bubbles or some colors if I wanted to, but as you know, I kind of like to keep these kind of things easier to print for my printer. So I'm not going to add in a huge amount of color, but I'm going to add in a little bit. So I'm going to actually bring this, I have this kind of gradient color that I use over here. I'm going to bring that up here to give myself a bit of a top panel. So just as a quick hack, the way I did that, so you'll see that this design is just like this. If I hold down shift while I'm trying to resize this, it helps me, it resizes it for me and helps me to kind of not have to do, it kind of lets me do everything at once. So holding down shift just means you can do it really easily and quickly. So I'm just going to drag that. Send that to being behind everything else. You can use shortcuts for this as well, but I'm just doing it here so that you can see what that looks like. I'm going to bring my weekly planner text to being white. Maybe bring this up a little bit so it's not so close to the bottom of this line. So I'm actually going to bring this down a little bit since I've got some extra room since I made my text a bit smaller. Then just make this a little bit taller there. Amazing. So you could totally finish that like that, just simply and done. What I would do though is do a test print. So I would actually at this point print this out and check that I'm happy with all the sizing. Like, is this enough space for me to write my daily to-dos, or do I want to make these boxes a little bit longer and taller and these ones a little bit shorter, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm now going to add in a few more things if you want to have your designs being a little more intricate, mostly it being lines. So I'm going to press L on my keyboard and you'll see that a line pops up. This is, again, the most intricate of lines inside Canva. You can also access that by going to Elements and clicking this line here. You don't want to search line inside Elements here because it'll come with lots of different, you don't want to use the graphic lines here because they're not, you can't edit them. Whereas if you use Canva's line here, then you can edit them. So you'll see if I click on this line, I've got the option to change the line weight. I've also got the option to round the edges. So you can see this is now rounded at the edges. And I've also got the option, if I just zoom in on it, I've also got the option to make it dotted or dashed or anything that I want. So that is a really great way to do it. I personally love dotted lines. It is one of my favorite things. Not sure why. So I'm just going to bring this in here and pretend I'm having some lines on my to-do. So I'm going to bring that in here. Now, what I'm doing right now is holding down shift, because if I don't hold down shift, this line might become skewed and crooked like this. Imagine if I did a whole design like this. Unless that was my aesthetic, which is not for this design, then that's not ideal. So if I hold down shift while I'm moving my line around, it's going to help that to stay horizontal and even. I'm also going to make this line a bit smaller. Usually you want thinner as possible lines, again, unless your design style is really bulky and fun. But having that nice and simple and subtle, I think is the best. I'm also going to make this line a really dark purple because I don't want it to be really obvious. I just want it to be there as a bit of a guide. Then I'm going to duplicate these lines as I've just taught you before by pressing the Alt and Drag tool. But I could also then press Shift and select 3 of them, then Alt and Drag all 3 all together. Then I might do a few more. Like say I wanted this many lines, but you see that's not laid out nicely at all. So I'm going to do the trick that I taught you earlier where I'm going to click and drag, and then I want to use the position tool to make sure they're evenly spaced. But before I do that, I need to unselect my box. So to do that, I'm just going to hold down shift on my keyboard and unselect, and you'll see that it's unselected that box. If I press down shift again and click, it's going to reselect my box. I'm just going to unselect that and do that. Press position, go to the arrange panel, and I can select vertically tidy up, and then it's going to vertically align all of those little lines together. If for some reason I decided, oh, that's actually too close, all I need to do is delete one of those lines and do that exact same thing again, vertically tidy up, and it's fixed it all up again. Or again, maybe I can be like that, I still want more space, do the same thing, vertically tidy up, and it's all done. So simple. All right, The last thing I might want to add in is a little circle for a little like checkbox, because you know I love checking things off. So I'm going to press C on my keyboard to insert a circle. I'm going to make that nice and small. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, pop that over here as a bit of a checkbox. So I'm going to go to the circle here and maybe make the checkbox white. And I could either leave it white or I could add in a bit of a margin to it. I might add in a little bit of a border, make that, oops, not that color. I might make the border dark purple. Again, this doesn't need to be perfect, because all I need to do is make sure that there's enough here that I've lined up the last one perfectly and the first one perfectly. And then I can select all of these and again, use our position, arrange, vertically tidy up tool, and it's arranged them perfectly on those lines. So now that I'm happy with that, I'm now going to grab this and probably actually going to now delete these boxes, to be honest. And I hover over all of those and select them and press group. Then I'm going to duplicate these again, just so that I don't have to realign anything to anything at all. Just going to make sure that is aligned perfectly with this last one, select all of those and horizontally tidy them up. Done skis. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. I don't want any lines in the notes section. I want that to feel more spacious. Don't want anything in the encouragement section because I want to write that in really fun. Monthly focuses, I don't want any lines because that could be more of a brainstorming section. Socials, I could write maybe the date. I could leave a space for the date on there if I wanted to. Might just leave it though. I'm just going to add in one funky design element for those of you who are interested. I'm going to grab this box. Again, I'm going to ungroup it and then just grab this box by itself. Then press paste. And then I'm going to make this box a bit of a darker color and just set it to being behind the design here. And I'm going to bring it like so, just so it creates a little bit of a funky layout for my graphics. I'm just going to bring that like that, I think, about there. It's not quite perfectly lined up and that's kind of annoying me, so I'm just going to play with that. There we go. And again, if I wanted to be specific, I could actually delete all of those again. Grab those, group them, and duplicate all 5 of these again. And then I could do the same thing with these ones. I could duplicate this box, just make the fill of that to being that fill there, moving it around. If you can't get, you'll notice that it's grabbing a few things and it's not quite doing exactly what I want it to do. Whereas the closer I zoom in, I'm just zooming in on my computer trackpad, but you can also zoom in with this little panel here, this little mouse down the bottom, or you can press the plus and minuses, command plus and minus on your keyboard. I'm just going to zoom that in a little bit, this, and then again, send that to being behind my layer. Perfect, so I'm just going to use my arrow key across one, but that nudged it too far, so I'm just going to grab it myself and move it like so. All right, I'm just going to do that for the rest of these. Alrighty, here is our final design. I am actually really happy with that. So again, making sure you do a test print and then pretty much this is ready to go. If you are getting this professionally printed, like say for example, you're designing a proper planner for the real world, just making sure you go to File, View Settings and Show Print Bleed and making sure that anything that you have goes into your print bleed section. I'm not going to explain all about a print bleed right now, but just including that in case that's something you're doing. Or if that's not what you're doing, just turning that off so it doesn't get really confusing for you. And then you can just download this as a PDF or anything else, but I prefer using a PDF for any kind of print designs and sharing that as a PDF print as well. You might want to even just, if you're going to share this with other people, you might load this into your Google Drive as a PDF and share that link for people to be able to download it themselves. So I hope you found that so helpful. Enjoy creating this. Enjoy creating something that's really bespoke and really useful to you and applying those principles around making sure that it's the right sizing, making sure that the colors are working and making sure things are really perfectly aligned using those different tools and tricks that I taught you. So thank you for joining me today. And if you are wanting more help with your branding and graphics, please make sure you get in touch. I have 2 ways to help you. One way can be working with my design studio and we can create things for you and your brand. Or if you're more of a DIY, I have a whole course that will teach you all the principles of design, how to create a really robust and consistent brand, and gives you support from me, monthly calls and all of the fun things, plus lifetime access to some really great, robust content teaching you design and Canva. So thank you for joining me. Links to all of those things will be in the description below, so make sure you check that out. And in the meantime, I hope to see you for another video very soon. Bye.